Daytona, kicking off a new season. New drivers, new cars, new teams. Like my daddy always said, that can only mean one thing. Time to kick a little.
My daddy always was a gentleman, never the kind to ever force his hand. He would always be the last one to raise his voice. If anybody ever put us down, you can bet that he would stand his ground. Then he would tell me, son, sometimes you got no choice. You got to kick a little and cause a stir. Sometimes you gotta make some noise to be heard. Great job, buddy. If anybody ever tries to hold you back, yeah, you got to kick a little and be tough. Got to let him know you've had enough. Remember that unless you wanna finish last, you got to kick a little.
Yep. Wow. Just like a bullet coming right at you.
Some people judge you by the way you look. They see you once and say you ain't no good. Feels like they're never gonna take you for who you are. That's when you have to stand up and be strong and go the extra mile to prove them all wrong. Just remember when they push you way too far, you got to kick a little and cause a stir. Sometimes you gotta make some noise to be heard. If anybody ever tries to hold you back,
Off of corner number 4, here they come. It's going to be a drag race to the checkered flag. Jimmy Spencer wins it. Whoa, Randy.
remember that unless you wanna finish last, you got to kick a little.
Hey, Jeff, buddy, what are you doing? I know you're excited about 95, but so are we. It's another year of Speed World, and the old gang is back.
I can't wait. Vacation's over, but time to get to work.
Got my new treads for pit road. Let's lace them up and go.
Hey, it's race time, fans. I gotta go.
Thank you, man. Welcome back as ESPN Speed World is ready to kick a little.
Cause a stir. Sometimes you gotta make some noise to be heard. If anybody ever tries to hold you back, yeah, you got to kick a little and be tough. You got to let them know you've had enough. Remember that unless you wanna finish last, you got to kick a little. Yeah.
Well, it's been a fast and furious weekend already as the crews are hard at work, filing off and getting those inches ready to go. The veterans are here, the rookies are here, the NASCAR officials are here. The traffic has been horrendous in garage area, and now we are live at Daytona International Speedway in the checkered flag building on the Tri-Oval here at Daytona, welcoming you to a wrap-up of our Busch Pole qualifying show for 1995. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Benny Parsons and Ned Jarrett. The qualifying procedure was a little different for this race. Only the 2 top positions are locked in, but it's very important to go fast, Benny.
It's always important to go fast at any Winston Cup race. But Daytona, it's especially important to go fast, Ned.
Yes, it is, because if you don't run fast in qualifying and have trouble in the 125-mile qualifying races on Thursday, you just might be out of the Daytona 500.
Well, let's look specifically at how the qualifying procedure goes here at Daytona and how the starting positions are determined. The front row is locked in today, and it also determines the starting order for the twin 125s. They come up on Thursday. In the twin 125s, the results set positions 3 through 30 for the Daytona 500, and then positions 31 through 38 are determined by the fastest speeds from today's qualifying, and the other positions are for provisional starters. We will be back to summarize what happened today here at Daytona in just a moment. ESPN Speed World is being brought to you by Goodyear, #1 in tires. By Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics. and by NASCAR 94 Year in Review. To order, call 800-71-NASCAR. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, and Ned Jarrett ready to cover qualifying for you. First driver we'll cover is Bill Elliott, a two-time winner of the Daytona 500 in 16 starts. This is a brand new team this year, and therefore he cannot rely on the point standings from last year for a provisional start.
Very important that Bill Elliott gets good speed to fall back on, because as Bob said, Ned, this team was not in existence in 1994.
So he does not have those points, and today NASCAR made a new ruling. In the past, they would take provisionals from the top 35 car owners from last year's point standings. Now they have extended that to the top 40 car owners, but Bill Elliott doesn't even fall in that category.
But he does have a champions provisional that he could fall back on if worse came to worse.
And that might be important before this year is over for the McDonald's team.
Bill Elliott moving back to Dawsonville. This team he partially owns. It's number 94, and of course the sponsorship is McDonald's. 2 laps of qualifying. The best is the time that you stand on. There's the white flag. Lap number 1 was 47.316, a lap of 190.210.
And I don't think that will be pole material. Do you, Ned?
I don't think it'll be pole material at all, Benny. And if he could, normally they'll run faster on their second lap, because with restrictor plate engines, it takes them a while to get them wound up. So if he can pick that up some, I think that it'll put him in good position as far as the speed that we talked about that he'll need maybe to get in the Daytona 500.
We'll show you all qualifiers at the end of our show. Actually, Bill was the second out. The first was Gary Bradbury, who turned in a 186.699 in the Jimmy Means car. Keeping that McDonald's Ford right on that white line off of the 4th corner onto the tri-oval, and Bill Elliott about to complete lap number 2 of qualifying, the checkered flag waving, and the second lap was faster than the first, 47.155, 190.860.
And once again, he probably will not be on the pole with that speed, but as Ned said, a good speed to fall back on.
Ken Schrader has a new sponsor. It's Budweiser. Here at Daytona 10 starts, 3 pole positions, and they came in consecutive years. He finished second in the race in 1989.
And there's a new Monte Carlo, Ned. First lap on the racetrack for the new Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
First driver to qualify one of those, and they have high expectations for this car. Didn't know how it might run in qualifying, but they feel it'll be an excellent car in the race. But we've seen some good speeds out of them here in practice.
Now, what you see are trap speeds at the end of the tri-oval, end of corner 2, into the backstretch, and out of the 4th turn. And these speeds that you see underneath compare to the fastest that we have had so far. So this is how Ken Schrader compares to Bill Elliott.
And let me tell you that 199 for Bill Elliott was incorrect. That is a little bit too fast. It's probably 192, 193 is where he came off that second corner.
But you can see as he comes off turn 4, he's about 3 miles an hour slower than was Bill Elliott. We'll see how that relates to his overall speed.
First lap was 47.259, 190.440 miles an hour. There have been some adjustments, some rule changes regarding the qualifying procedure that we will get into in just a moment, or how the cars must utilize new rules. But Ken Schrader was looking good and trying to take the provisional pole away from Bill Elliott.
We see he's a little faster in turn 1 than Bill Elliott, 1 mile per hour, and he's the same speed going in turn 3.
See what he does coming off of turn 4 here, where Elliott was 184 coming off of there. Well, our graphic went away, but we'll see what he does when he takes the checkered flag.
Checkered waving, and the second lap was his fastest, 47.122, 190.994. We talked at some rule changes regarding qualifying. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, it's radiator restriction time here in NASCAR, and take a look at these 2 radiators. The one on my left here was the one that had been previously used for qualifying, basically used only for qualifying. It had an ice chamber in the bottom. Crews would pre-fill with ice, be able to close off the front of their car, put this baby in. With all that ice down there, the car wouldn't overheat. But these things cost between $1,500 and $2,000. Certainly a lot of teams couldn't afford that. NASCAR says no more. Now you must qualify with the radiator you're going to race, the standard 5-flue radiator used in cars for qualifying, which means they can no longer tape off the front of the car because there's no ice to keep the car cool. You got to have air coming through. It saves cost, it lowers the speed, and most importantly now, it is the NASCAR law.
Dr. Jerry Punch and John Kernan with us this afternoon. Here is Lake Speed's qualifying run. 11 starts in the 500. His best finish was second in 1985. This is the Melling team car, and the sponsorship is Span.
And Bill Elliott made this car, this number, so famous back in the 80s.
In 85 in particular, when he won, 11 races that year, and the Winston Million. Harry Melling, of course, the owner.
There's a speed to beat, and Lake Speed is faster than Schrader down in turn 1.
And look how much faster he was coming off corner number 2.
Wow, 5 miles per hour faster than Schrader.
The wind, we might mention, was blowing so that it affected you going down the backstretch. And there is a speed identical to that of Schrader for Lake Speed.
You can see they ran 196 miles an hour at the end of the backstretch. A little slower, of course, coming off of turn 4.
And the white flag, 46.870, is going to be the first lap for Lake Speed, a 192-mile-an-hour lap, 192.020, and everybody was anticipating a faster lap on number 2, but you'll notice that there is smoke coming out of the rear end of that car.
Apparently they had it taped off a little too much, Bob, and maybe burned a piston or something in the engine that just wouldn't stand up to the speed that he was running.
It's still going right now, but you're right. I saw some smoke just a moment ago.
Well, you can see the speed going into turn 3 was thought off a couple of miles an hour there. But
oh, there he goes. Yeah, it finally let go completely.
And Lake shut it off and just coasted around for the completion of his second lap at a 186.012. 192.020 was the qualifying speed for Lake Speed. Well, Mark Martin was among those standing by, ready to go out for his qualifying run. John Kernan talks with him.
Mark Martin, a car just blew up a few moments ago out on the track. Any concern going through your mind?
No, that doesn't mean anything.
I'm talking about conditions of the track. Might have laid oil down.
No, that didn't do anything to the track.
Let's talk a little bit about the weather. Seen the wind vary from 10 to 20 miles an hour. That'll make a difference, won't it?
Hopefully it's the same for everybody. You know, it'll vary some, but we're not in the running for the pole. We're going to do our qualifying on Thursday, so I don't know what everybody's so upset about.
Mark Martin getting ready to go up next. Robert Presley, Mark Martin, Loy Allen, Rick Mast, and others. We're covering for you tonight push pole qualifying for the Daytona 500, and we'll be right back. Early on in qualifying, the top 3 were Lake Speed at 192.0, then Ken Schrader and Bill Elliott. Weather very important here. It was warm today, but also very windy. John Kernan has a report.
The wind could play a big factor this afternoon in qualifying. We've had the wind gusting from 10 to 20 miles an hour. Not normally a problem, but the gusts at 20 have been sustained. That means if you're out on the racetrack, it's like running into a headwind coming down through the tri-oval. Crew chiefs say they lose as much as 2 to 3 tenths of a second. And guys, I guess it also makes it hard to handle coming out of the turns.
Well, here's one of the rookie candidates in the Winston Cup Series this year. After 10 wins in the Busch Grand National Division, Robert Presley taking over the familiar number 33 that has been driven in previous years by Harry Gant. And there were the weather conditions as Robert went onto the racetrack.
And you know, the best pick of the day was Dale Earnhardt, who picked dead last to qualify. It should be cooler, and cooler temperatures most of the time relate to speeds.
And many times the wind will die as the evening goes on here in Daytona. And as John Kernan pointed out, the wind is very, very important here because they do have a headwind on the front straightaway here now.
And the wind is blowing the toughest it can blow at Daytona. Going into turn 3, it just keeps wanting to blow that car up the racetrack. Makes it very difficult right here to turn that car back into the wind and head down the front straightaway.
You can see Robert Presley was equaling the pole speed that we had at the moment, and that, of course, was Lake Speed.
As a matter of fact, he was a little faster. Yeah, a little faster coming off turn 4.
Coming off of turn number 4, white flag went out for Presley. His first lap was 46.830 at a speed of 192.184, and that indeed was good enough to knock Lake Speed from the pole position, and Robert was looking for even better speed and performance in the second lap.
We see he's 2 miles per hour faster going in turn 1, 1 mile per hour slower coming off turn 2. But as Ned pointed out earlier on, most of the cars will get faster on that second lap.
Of course, he has that that tailwind down the backstretch there. He is 2 miles an hour faster going into turn 3, 197 miles an hour.
As you can see, the Skoll car has changed colors or design over
Looks
the winter.
a little different, yeah. And here's the second lap for Robert Presley. It was faster than the first, 46.620, 193.050. And Robert Presley, a rookie, had put himself on the pole at that moment in qualifying. Up next, Mark Martin. Last season, he won the pole at Watkins Glen and finished second in points with 2 victories. Mark Martin back in the familiar Valvoline colors with Jack Roush Racing.
Martin talked earlier, he doesn't feel he has a chance to be a pole sitter today, said he's going to qualify Thursday in the qualifying race. Didn't understand why everybody was so excited about qualifying today.
Mark is not really, he's won a lot of poles in Winston Cup competition, but hasn't really been that strong in qualifying, at least on the restrictor plate tracks.
And we can see he's 4 miles per hour slower than Preston down in turn 1 and 7 miles per hour up in turn 2. And they're 3 miles per hour slower going in turn 3 at the Daytona International Speedway. So yeah, he's not going to be on the pole today.
No, he got a little high down turns 1 and 2. Seemed to have a little trouble keeping the car down low on the racetrack.
And we can see how that reflection in speed as he's 2 miles per hour slower coming off turn 4.
190.170, a 47.326 on the first lap for Mark Martin.
You can see the car up a little bit higher in the center of the corner than he perhaps wanted it to be. He gets it out next to the wall nicely as he comes off the turn.
And once again, that higher line that he ran down turn 1 and 2, we can see just how much slower he was coming off turn 2 than was Robert Presley. And Robert Presley is our current pole sitter.
So that's the speeds we're comparing with.
Mark Martin onto the tri-oval, looking for the checkered flag, knowing that it isn't going to be good enough for the pole position. Second lap was 47.045 at a 191.306, and at that moment he was third in the order. Loy Allen was up next. He, the 1994 Daytona 500 pole winner, but he had a problem during his qualifying run this year in the number 27 car this year from the Junior Johnson stable.
Yeah, it's the same sponsor. Hooters is the sponsor, but a different car in 1995.
Same engine builder.
Same engine builder.
Mark Smith builds the engines.
This is the second lap for Loy, 47.522, 189.386 was what he turned in during his first lap, but right there off of the fourth corner again, the engine blew.
And he turns the engine off, and these fellows, in trying to get optimum speed, they run the ignition time a little bit too high, try to run the grill, a little too much tape on the grill, they get the engines too hot and burn a lot of pistons.
Rick Mast, who last season won the pole position for the inaugural Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, was up next, and he also had a problem during his qualifying run, as the engine will let go on this car before he could come around, or just after he completed his first lap.
You can see their new colors on that car this year. Still number 1, still sponsored by Skoll, but different design.
Ooh, and there it goes. A lot of smoke out of that car. And they've had trouble getting that car up to speed the 2 days we've been practicing here in Daytona.
So his first lap was the one that he had to go with, a 186.023, a 48.381 seconds for Rick Mast, and he will definitely have to requalify on Monday, and will hope to get a good starting position as a result of the Twin 125. There's a lot of smoke out of the engine there, and he shut it off and just coasted around to the start-finish line.
And that was definitely a burned piston. And folks, there is a burned piston. I mean, it literally burns a hole in the piston, so much temperature.
So do you think that the new radiator rule had anything to do with these that we've seen here early on?
I don't think it had too much to do with it. I think they're just trying to get too much out of the engine, run the cylinders a little bit too warm.
Yeah, they're running like 18-to-1 compression ratio, and it doesn't take much of a variation in there. They'll burn that piston.
All right. We are summarizing Busch pole qualifying. There you can see that Jeff Gordon's grill is completely bare, no tape there. He will go out next as we continue to cover for you Busch pole day qualifying for the Daytona 500. We'll be right back. Well, we welcome to Daytona today the Blockbuster Video Blimp, part of its nationwide tour. We welcome them and its crew to our coverage of Busch pole day qualifying for the Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon won the Busch Clash here last year, had 2 wins in the regular season at Charlotte and at the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. Jeff Gordon, not much change here. The weather at that time, 81 degrees air temperature and 99 on the racetrack.
And we see the grill open, the significance of that makes the car go slower, it will slow the car down, but more air going through the grill into the radiator keeps the engine cooler and therefore keeps the engine from burning pistons like we saw just a moment ago.
And he's fighting a wind here of about 10 to 18 miles an hour, Ned.
Yes, and that definitely affects him on both straightaways. Sends him into turn 3 perhaps a little faster than he wants to go, but his car is staying down very nicely as he comes around there. His speed compared to Robert Presley is the fastest at this moment. He's a little bit slower than Robert.
The DuPont Chevrolet takes the white flag. First lap was 47.037, a 191.339. So Jeff Gordon with a good performance in his first lap.
That is an impressive run, Bob, with the grill open the way it is. That's a good speed.
Now, normally, they'll pick up about 0.2 of a second per lap on their second lap as they get the cars really the speed wound up on them. But maybe that opening in that grill might not let him pick up quite as much as the others.
You might be right. And Jeff Gordon was extended an invitation to the IROC and accepted. Will be in the IROC in 1995.
Yep.
The youngest member ever in IROC.
Second lap for Jeff Gordon, the better of the two, 47.022, pretty consistent, 191.400. At that time, he was third on the provisional grill.
But as Ned pointed out, the car did not pick up as much as the other cars.
Ricky Rudd getting ready to roll off, and John Kernan down in the pit area. Had a chance to talk with his crew chief, Billy Engel, as Rudd rolled out.
Bill Engel, we've seen some problems with some of the teams putting too much tape on their grill. You guys are pretty much wide open. Why is that?
Yeah, we're trying to go a little conservative. You'd like to try to get 2 good laps in rather than run one, burn an engine down, and cause you a problem. So we're just going to go conservative and try to get 2 good laps in.
That change in the radiator rule certainly makes a difference in qualifying.
Yeah, there's a lot of people spent some good money for a qualifying radiator that now they can't use, But if everybody's got to do it, everybody's got to do it, it's fine.
Ricky Rudd, the 1983 pole winner here at the 500, 17 starts. He finished third in 1981. And again, no change with this team or sponsorship. Looks pretty much the same as 1994. He's going for a 193 mile an hour lap. That's the fastest that we have seen to this point, turned in by Robert Presley.
Once again, if the grill is open on the Tide T-Bird, that means that Rudd is not going for the pole position. He's going to have to get a good solid speed and worry about racing next Thursday in the qualifying race.
Of course, Ricky wound up 5th in the Winston Cup point standings in 1994, so he would be in good position for a provisional should he need it.
Well, what an impressive year he had in 1994. First year as an owner, and really and truly, Ricky Rudd, I didn't put him with being an owner. I mean, Jeff Bodine's been around race cars and built his own race cars, but I didn't realize that Rudd had the mechanical background that he does. A great year he had in 94.
You can see from his trap speeds that he's under Robert Presley's speed. His first lap was 47.381, 189.950.
And that's a little over half a second slower than Robert Presley ran. The car seems to be handling nicely for him. Didn't see it moving around too much. And you can see there again, coming off of turn 2, he was some 7 miles an hour slower than was Presley. Presley ran 197 at the end of the back stretch, but Ricky Rudd fought 191.
Rudd brings it off corner number 4, looks toward the checkered flag, and will wind up with a second lap of 47.240 seconds, a speed of 190.517. And his position at this moment put him 7th in the line. Well, we now look toward another rookie, at least a rookie in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, Davy Jones, who has control of the number 77 U.S. Air Jasper engines for Thunderbird this year. He is a veteran IMSA and IndyCar racer trying to make his mark in stock car racing.
I was quite shocked, Ned, that this fellow accepted the ride in the 77 car when Greg Sachs stepped out of this car into the 40 car, the Kendall car. I was surprised that Davy Jones going stock car racing.
Well, I think it was a surprise to a lot of people, and also maybe a surprise that D.K. Ulrich, who owns this car, would have chosen someone with very little stock car experience, but he certainly has some good winning experience.
And you know, he's going to try to do this year what John Andretti did last year. He has announced that he has a deal with Jonathan Byrd and Dick Simon in Indianapolis that will allow him to hopefully run in the Indy 500 during the daylight hours and then fly down to Charlotte and do the Coca-Cola World 600 at night. If he does, of course, he'll be the second driver in history to do that. So Davy Jones, first lap, a good one, 47.279 seconds, a speed of 190.359, and if there was a head turner in the early going, it had to be Davy Jones.
That's a great lap by Davy Jones. I am impressed.
And Benny, you and I talked a little bit, wondered what kind of a line he would take around this 2.5-mile track, wondered if he would follow the line of those experienced drivers, and he has taken a good line around the track. And I'm sure that D.K. Ulrich and maybe some others have pointed that out to him where he needs to be on the racetrack, and he's putting it there.
By the way,
looks like he's listening to him.
Yeah. And by the way, if he can win both Indianapolis and Charlotte in May, he'll pick up a bonus of $1 million. Davy Jones completes the run. Second lap was quicker, 46.986, 191.546. John Kernan was down on the grid at this point to talk with Dale Jarrett.
Well, Dale Jarrett, everybody says that you're the man to beat for the pole.
I hope they're right. I've got an awfully good race car. This Texaco Haviland Mac Tools Ford is obviously a good car. Larry McReynolds has done his job with the chassis. Robert and Doug Yates and everybody in the engine shop put a good engine in here. So I'm excited about the opportunity, but Chevrolets look awfully fast, so we're going to have to turn in a good lap.
About this year, 1 year, Ernie may be back next year. Quite a chance for you, but really not that big a chance career-wise.
Not really. You know, you look at it, everything's kind of year to year anyway, and this was Dale Jarrett's best opportunity to look at the championship for 1995.
Up next, Darrell Waltrip, the '89 winner of the Daytona 500. He's had 22 starts here. He was second in 81 and 89 as far as the starting position is concerned. The weather, 81 degrees, 97 degrees on the track. It's 316, and the winds are from the south-southeast, 10 to 16 miles an hour.
The track temperature has cooled off 2 degrees from the last graphic we saw. It was 99 degrees, so the racetrack is getting just a tick cooler. And Darrell Waltrip, talked to him for 30 minutes the other day, and is he excited about 1995? I said, how's things going? He said, perfect. Just absolutely perfect. He is excited, man.
Yes, he is. He had a strong run towards the end of 1994 and climbed up in the point standings, finished in the top 10, and then the Monte Carlo, he says, feels so comfortable to him that, boy, he's really looking forward to it.
It must be, because look how he's staying right on that white line through 3 and 4.
First lap for Darrell Waltrip was 47.054, 191.270, and Waltrip had a great run on lap 1.
That's a good speed to run as comfortable as his car looks going around the racetrack and to stay as close to that line. That's a good speed.
Yes, it is. And, of course, the second lap, as we've seen with most cars, will be faster. And old Darrell's going to get himself a good starting position here. I don't think he'll be a threat for the pole, or he wasn't right at that time, but he's still very comfortable there. See how low he runs the car, right on that white line.
Got those left tires right on the white line in turn 3, letting the car drift up, coming off of corner number 4 into the trioval. Waltrip on lap number 2 was quicker with a 46.888, a 191.947. At that time, it put him third in the provisional lineup. Well, Jerry Punch caught up at that time with Davy Jones, who had a great run.
Well, Davey, what a way to enter NASCAR with a lap third quickest thus far in qualifying. Congratulations.
Yeah, I really have to thank my team, the U.S. Air Jasper Engines transmission. You know, all during testing and the last few days, we've just been trying to be as honest as we could with our own laps and not trying to get any extra help from anybody. But those 2 laps that I put together, I had my doubts, and the car was a little bit loose on me, so I was even surprised.
Congratulations.
I'm happy to be in Winston Cup, and hope I have a good race. Thank you.
That's Davy Jones, and getting set to go out next. Could he be on the pole position for the 95 Daytona 500? It's Dale Jarrett. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our recap of Busch pole qualifying. There were the top qualifiers at this point, with Robert Presley on the pole and Lake Speed alongside. About to go out was Dale Jarrett. And the crew chief on this car, of course, is Larry McReynolds. John Kernan caught up with him.
Larry, NASCAR is trying to maintain a level playing field, but sometimes they get very, very meticulous. They came to your garage and had you change some things this morning just a moment ago.
Yeah, you know, I certainly don't envy NASCAR's position. You know, they've got 65 cars here that they're trying to govern with God knows how many items on every single car. You know, the number of items times the number of cars could get into millions of items. So, you know, they are trying to keep it a level playing field. My attitude when they come to me and told me to change these things was, as long as I go to bed tonight, whether we sit on the pole or not, knowing that all other 64 cars had to take the same thing off if they had it, then we certainly don't have a problem with it.
What did you have to change?
We had the window net blocked up a little bit at the back, and we had to open it back up. They require a certain size opening in all the hose of the window net. And we are evacuating air out from underneath the car, and they're regulating the size that you can use. We had the right size hose going to the underneath the car, but the opening in the quarter window was oversized. So, you know, how much it'll hurt us, I can't say. You know, it's like we searched for these things all winter in the wind tunnel and down here testing. And, you know, if we sit on the pole, we'll say it didn't hurt us. If we don't, then we'll say it did.
Dale Jarrett, the 1993 winner of the Daytona 500, has had 6 starts here at this race. Can he win the pole position for this year's event? Now look at the weather conditions now. The wind 12 to 14 miles an hour. The track temperature is 97 degrees as Dale takes the green flag.
Same temperature we saw just a moment ago. Last graphic we saw, same temperature.
Now remember, at this point, Robert Presley is still on the provisional pole with a speed of 193.050, but the Haviland Ford was motoring down the backstretch and at this point was under Presley's trap speeds.
On his first lap, he came off of turn 2 about 4 miles an hour slower than was Presley, but he picks it up to be the same going into turn 3.
The same speed. And in testing this winter, he has been happy with the 28 car has been in.
Oh yes, I've been very happy with Robert Yates, Larry McReynolds, the whole crew.
Look at this.
4 miles per hour faster than Presley coming off turn 4.
All that added up to a lap of 46.766, so 192.448. It was good enough for second at this point. Could he knock Presley from the pole with a lap better of 193.050? And he equaled him in turn number 1.
And equaling in turn 2 as well. That is the fastest lap we've seen so far, the fastest first lap that we've seen so far here this afternoon.
Look at this. He's a mile an hour faster at the end of the backstretch than Presley. If he can bring this car around turns 3 and 4 well and onto the tri-oval, he has the pole.
This is where that Robert Yates horsepower will count as he goes into the headwind coming towards the start-finish line.
He was 2 miles per hour faster coming off turn 4, and he does it.
Ned, what are you smiling about? He did it.
Yes, he did. That was a great lap.
513, 193.494, and Dale Jarrett put himself on the provisional pole. Well, Jeff Purvis comes to Daytona as the 1993 ARCA 200 winner, trying to make his mark in NASCAR Winston Cup racing once again, driving the number 44 car.
And sponsored by Jackaroo Barbecue Sauce. I got all these food sponsors down pat.
Benny knows about this too.
They don't pass you up, do they?
Purvis ran good during the practice runs, testing runs here at Daytona during the winter.
And of course, he'll be competing in the ARCA 200 tomorrow here at Daytona, which we will have for you at 3:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. So Jeff doing double duty here at Daytona.
And this is the car that was on, this is James Finch car, the same car that Jeff Purvis drove for last year in ARCA, and will continue to drive again this year for James Finch. Just a different look to it. and a different number.
And the first lap for Jeff Purvis was at 47.218, 190.605, and a very good lap for Jeff Purvis, and he was looking to pick it up on lap number 2.
Has a good line around the track. You see he stays close down on the white line, similar to what Darrell Waltrip was doing. He's not really a stranger to this racetrack. He won the ARCA race here last year?
Yes, not 1993, I believe he was a 200. ARCA 200-mile winner.
Okay. He has won here.
Yeah.
Got to start in dirt track racing, man. This guy was a terror on dirt tracks back in the 80s.
Once again, the car right on that bottom line as it came around turns 3 and 4, and the second lap was faster than the first, 47.082, 191.156. It put him 8th on the grid at this time. Jerry Punch caught up in the meantime to provisional pole sitter Dale Jarrett.
Well, DJ, awesome lap, 193.494. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'd like to take a lot of the credit, but the credit goes to Robert and Doug Yates and the guys in the engine shop, and Larry McReynolds and the guy that built this brand new race car. It's just been awesome since we started testing, and it performed here when it had to.
How much pressure was on you to do what you did? I mean, considering how well that car's run here in the past.
A lot more than what I thought there was going to be. I mean, you know, as it builds up and then somebody goes out and runs a fast lap like Robert Presley did, the pressure builds. You know that you've got to really do your job better than you've been doing it. But we were able to back up what we did yesterday, and that's what we wanted to do with this strong wind and a little hot temperature.
Who that's left concerns you?
There's a lot of them. I think there's some Sly Foxes over there in the 3, the 4, the 5, 18, and the 30 camps. So we got to watch quite a few of them. And Earnhardt going last, it's not over till the very end.
Back in the garage area, NASCAR has pulled the 11 car, Brett Bodine and Junior Johnson, out of the inspection line. Now the problem, they found something in the manifold. They wouldn't say exactly what that something is, but for now, they decided to pull the 11 car from the line, not allow it to run today. NASCAR spokesman Kevin Triplett says that they will inspect the manifold further, but at this time, that is the only action they are going to take.
And Morgan Shepherd got ready to qualify. The consistent Morgan Shepherd, who has started the Daytona 500 12 times. His best finish was second in 1992. Back with the Wood brothers and Sitco, looking to knock Dale Jarrett from the pole with a speed of better than 193.494.
And we saw how high that Morgan Shepherd came down through the trioval to take the green flag. That's one thing the drivers do when they leave the pits. They run as high as possible around the racetrack, trying to make this 2.5-mile racetrack 2.7 miles, trying to lengthen it and make it as long as possible to build up to generate as much speed as they can before taking the green flag.
I don't think we mentioned it, maybe we have, but it goes without saying that they are using the restrictor plates this year. They're the same size as they were last year.
Everything is the same, and the car, evidently, the engine builders have found more horsepower because the cars are faster. Last year, pole position was about, what, 47.30? Something like that, 191 miles per hour, and already we've seen a speed of 193 miles per hour.
Yes, I don't think the conditions were as good last year as they were today, but still, they found more horsepower and found some better aerodynamics too on many of these cars.
And the cars, of course, are 100 pounds lighter. First lap for Morgan Shepherd, 47.384, 189.938.
Morgan had been practicing better than that. He tested better than that during the winter. He was one of the top 10 in testing here during the winter and really was among the top 10 in practice earlier today and yesterday.
Always consistent, always in the hunt.
Always in the hunt.
And we thank the Wood brothers for not changing much on that car this year. That's one that's identifiable. There's so many changes on the cars in 1994.
And the second lap for Morgan was 46.948 seconds, 191.701 miles an hour. Yet to go out with a possible attempt at knocking Dale Jarrett off the pole was Terry Labonte, and John Kernan caught up with him.
Terry Labonte been one of the fastest cars in practice since practice opened on Friday, but can you knock Dale Jarrett off that top spot?
That was an awful strong time Dale turned in, so I don't know. It was really hard to tell how fast you could run in practice. There's so many cars out there, and you really couldn't get a clean lap, so I don't know. He's going to be tough to beat.
What about your other two Hendrick teammates? Have they given you any advice as to the lines out there and where the wind's affecting things?
No, not really. You know, it's the same for everybody, and you know, I guess you get a pretty good tailwind down the back straightaway, but you'll pay for it coming off a 4 up there. But we'll just do the best we can.
And next up, Phil Parsons. 10 starts in the Daytona 500, best finished third in 1988. And the question that went through my mind, might we have a Jarrett and a Parsons on the front row? We're halfway there with Dale on the provisional pole, and now Phil onto the racetrack at 3:38 in the afternoon. The track temperature 96 degrees and the wind about the same.
And the maximum temperature we've seen was 99, so it is cooling down. This is the car that Loy Allen qualified on the pole position for the Daytona 500 in 1994. Same number, same car.
Now, it is painted differently, and there is some rumor that a sponsor announcement will be made soon on that car, but not quite yet.
Well, they're hoping and praying because they'd love to run the entire Winston Cup schedule, all 31 races this year, and without some help on the quarter panel, they just simply can't do that. So.
But it is a good, fast race car, and Phil is a good race driver.
And his first lap was 47.012, 191.440.
That's not a bad lap.
Not at all. That'll certainly be a good enough speed to get him in the Daytona 500 if he didn't finish his second lap. But,
and we can see that car has found some speed from last year because, as I said, I think the speed last year was like 47.30, something like that. So the car is 0.3 of a second faster than 1994.
Yeah, his speed last year, Loy Allen was, and winning the pole was just over 190 miles an hour.
Again, the top numbers are those turned in by the pole sitter, and the bottom numbers are those turned in by the car on the racetrack. So you can see that Phil was quite a bit under the trap speeds turned in by Dale Jarrett, but nevertheless a good run. 46.918 seconds on lap number 2, 191.824, and at that time it put Phil Parsons 5th in the provisional lineup. But a lot more qualifiers to go, including Terry Labonte, and right behind him, one of the fastest in the testing and the practices so far, Michael Waltrip. Steve Grissom will also qualify when we come back. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, our wrap-up of Daytona 500 qualifying. Tomorrow at 3:30, we will have coverage of the Bondo Marhide ARCA 200. That's 3:30 in the afternoon, followed by a live speed week here at Daytona. Terry Labonte up next to qualify. 16 starts in the 500, best start second, and his best finish was second in 86 and in 89.
There's the Kellogg's Corn Flakes car, and look how the track temperature is cooling off. The last temperature graphic we saw was 96 degrees, now down to 93 degrees. So racetrack should be getting faster.
It should be getting faster. I expect the wind might have as much to do with it as anything, and it's been gusting and about the same, I guess, for everybody up to this point.
Talk about a driver who turned in a great performance in 94. You got to talk about this guy and wonder whether it will carry over to 95.
Look at the back of that car, Ned.
Yeah, they run such soft springs now on these super speedways to get the back end down. That gives better aerodynamics, let the air flow across it, don't have as much drag on it, which picks up their straightaway speed.
I mean, they run the springs like the Martinsville spring in the rear of the car, but what a dramatic shot that was of the back of that Kellogg's car down the back straightaway.
His speed slower than Jarrett through the traps. This total 46.846, 192.119, but he was within striking distance of the pole sitter Dale Jarrett.
That's only 0.08 of a second slower on his first lap than Dale Jarrett ran in the Havoline Texaco car.
There, he's a mile an hour faster at the end of the second corner.
And once again, folks, look at the back of the car. It sags down. The wind is doing that. On the rear spoiler, it's pushing the back of that car down.
Now, Jarrett ran 198 going into turn 3.
That's the top number you see there on the top left of your screen. You did get a trap speed on him in the third turn, but off the fourth corner, he was a little bit slower, and the total for the second lap was faster than the first, but not good enough. 46.663, 192.872, and at that time, Terry Labonte fell into third qualifying position on the provisional lineup. Michael Waltrip out next, 8 starts at Daytona, finished 8th in 1990, and this is the guy that turned in the fastest testing speed here at Daytona and has been among the fastest since practice began on Friday.
Friday.
As a matter of fact, Michael Waltrip's testing speed, I think, was almost identical to what Dale Jarrett qualified. Didn't he run 46.51 or something like that in testing? And I think Dale Jarrett's qualifying speed was 4. Look at the smoke as the car is bottoming out over in turns 1 and 2.
Yep, and that's another example of how those soft springs on the rear and just at least a little bit of a bump will cause the tires to hit the sheet metal under there, and you can see how that back end is pushed down on that car as well.
Once again, Dale Jarrett's speed was 46.52, and as I said, Michael Waltrip in testing, I think, ran 46.51, so he has a chance. And he is a little faster coming off turn 4 than was Dale Jarrett. First lap is over? No.
46.973, 191.599. But everybody has been faster on their second lap if their car held together, and we anticipated the same from Waltrip. But look again at the smoke coming from the back of that car as the springs just settle down.
That's the tires rubbing the body and making the tires smoke. That's what that's coming from.
Michael Waltrip, of course, in the Pontiac.
See there, he's about 2 miles an hour slower going into turn 3, 196 as compared to 198 for Jarrett.
And about the same coming off of corner number 4 onto the tri-oval. Second lap for Michael was faster, 46.838, a speed of 192.157. It put him at that time 4th in the provisional lineup. Out next to qualify, Steve Grissom, the 93 Busch Grand National champion, second in Winston Cup rookie points last year. And he has a new sponsor this year, and he has a new crew chief, and a great deal of optimism. Steve Grissom.
Well, that is a brand new look, isn't it? Meineke Mufflers, the sponsor on the 29 car. Last year it was a 41. There was much more yellow in the car last year.
And of course, that new crew chief is Buddy Parrott, who was the crew chief for Rusty Wallace for several years, so they have a lot of enthusiasm going into 1995.
Yeah, like 18 victories with Buddy Parrott in 1993 and 1994.
Yeah.
And we can see that he is about 5 miles per hour slower than Dale Jarrett. And the car's wiggling a little bit up in the corner. Not sticking to the racetrack nearly as well as, say, Darrell Waltrip's car did.
First lap for Steve Grissom was 47.438, a speed of 189.721. Taking the car right down on the line, though, and letting it drift up into the second corner and onto the backstretch.
About 3 miles an hour going slower than Jarrett going into turn 1.
But about a mile an hour faster at the end of turn 2.
And once again, we can see the back end on that General Motors car is going down as he goes down the back straightaway. As that air hits that rear spoiler and makes the rear end go down.
Then it used to be, when I drove race cars, we had the back end sitting up in the air a lot. That was the way we thought was beating the aerodynamic situation.
Yeah, that's right. We used to put the nose down, the back end up.
Yeah, we didn't have spoilers on the car then, though.
47.222 seconds on lap number 2 for Steve Grissom, and the speed 190.584. At that time, it put him 15th in the qualifying order. You can see Michael Waltrip is examining the right side of that car. We talked about how the body seemed to be rubbing on that right tire. Well, let's find out what his thoughts are as we go down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
You're looking at the race car. You had the quickest time in testing in the winter, and not a bad lap in qualifying.
No, we were in there, you know. That's what we wanted a shot at it. For some reason, the car bottomed out a lot worse just then than it has all in the last 2 days of practicing. And anytime you're bouncing on the track, you're losing a little bit of speed. But, you know, all in all, it's a great effort for this whole Pennzoil racing team. All the guys did a super job. We spent the off winter really getting ready for Richmond, Rockingham, and on down the road. That's the same car we raced here a year ago. We didn't even build a new car, but we felt like this program was in pretty good shape and we could make it a little bit better. And we're good. We've always raced well here, so now we're qualified good here. Should be a fun week in Daytona.
It should be, Michael. You got to look at the car now. You saw some paint on those left and right rear tires. That has to make you smile a little bit.
Well, it slows it down when that happens, and that's disappointing. But you know, you run a little bit faster today, probably on the straightaways, so you get more travel in the turns, and the lap would have resulted in a faster time had we not have drug. But shoot, you can't do nothing about that. This deal is a a big guessing game when it comes right down to the final product you're going to roll out on pit road to qualify. I'm pleased to death with Doug Hewitt, Ron Puryear, and all the guys on the team. They made my job easy. Now I'm going to make them proud by maybe winning a race on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and stick around race Monday, too, if they'll do all that.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Always looking for a race to win. Well, up next, Kyle Petty with some new colors. Also, Wallace, Marlon Labonte, and Earnhardt. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bush Pole qualifying. Here is the way they lined up as we continue to cover our Bush Pole qualifying here at Daytona today. And we would like to thank the Blockbuster Video Blimp for providing the overhead shots of today's activity. And there's something that's been fighting the wind on it. That thing's been blowing and drifting sideways all afternoon.
I tell you what, he might be pointing north, but he's going south.
Kyle Petty up next with the 1993 pole position, and talk about different colors. Look at this car. Look at the track temperature, also down to 89.
It's dropping. Yeah, should help those that are qualifying now.
This is the Coors Silver Bullet. It's still the Felix Sabates owned car, but a lot different paint job on the machine. Still number 42.
As a matter of fact, there's a black truck parked beside of Felix. Is about 3 or 4 trucks down from him. He told me today he's walked in that black truck 12 times since he's been in Daytona, because he's so accustomed to seeing his black truck. And this is a radically different color for Kyle Petty in 1995.
See how he's doing compared to Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett's trap speeds are on the top, and the ones that pop in on the bottom are those of the car currently on the racetrack. About a mile an hour slower than Dale off of corner number 4. The first lap for Kyle Petty was 47.565, 189.215, and that put him something like 27th in the provisional lineup at this point.
And this car struggled a great deal in 1994 at Daytona and Talladega. Well, as a matter of fact, Kyle struggled at most of the racetracks last year, but Daytona and Talladega, he really struggled.
Look how much the speeds are up on this second lap, Ned.
Yeah, he's picked it up more than we've seen on any other car. Within 2 miles an hour going into 1, within 4 miles an hour coming off of 2, and still going up as he went into turn 3. He got up to, what, 196 miles an hour there.
Let's see how he does coming out of corner number 4. And it's the same as Dale Jarrett, so this is going to be a good lap for Kyle. Indeed, 46.935, 191.755 put him 8th on the provisional grid, and Felix Sabates, his car owner, was down with John Kernel. Let's hear his thoughts.
We're with Kyle Petty's car owner, Felix Sabates, and Felix, he really picked it up all the way to the 8th spot.
I tell you, I don't know where we are right now, but you see, when the 8th spot, all we were hoping was to make the top 20, and so we were 8th. I'm very happy, believe me. From where we were last year, dead last, if we can start 8th or 10th or 11th, I'll be very happy.
Up next, Rusty Wallace, 2 poles last season and 8 wins. But he has never performed well here at Daytona, or for that fact, on the super speedways. Listen to his finishes here at Daytona last year. 41st and 26th at Talladega. He was 33rd and 42nd. If Rusty Wallace can get off to a good start, maybe it won't be so difficult for him to catch Dale Earnhardt in the point standings.
Ned, do you think Rusty Wallace came to Daytona in 1995 thinking about winning the race or finishing the race?
Well, I would think that his first priority would be to finish. Yeah, I would bet he'd be tickled to death to leave here with a 10th place finish, and that's not characteristic of him. I mean, he wants to win every race that he enters, but with those numbers that Bob just read out there, boy, I think he'd take a top 10.
Dale Earnhardt looks on as Rusty Wallace is about to complete lap number 1. In the Miller Genuine Draft Ford, off of corner number 4, about 3 miles an hour slower than Dale Jarrett. First lap, 47.067, and a speed of 191.217.
I'm impressed. I tell you what, I said that Rusty Wallace would probably leave here with a 10th place finish. Obviously, you're right, Ned. He wants to win every race he goes in, but these fellas, he and his crew, have worked harder on this combination, the Daytona-Talladega combination, and it looks like it's working out, because that's pretty good speed for Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, it's better than he's done in the past, and obviously the work that they've done is paying off.
And they really struggled with this car down here yesterday and today in practice. They changed everything on the car, had a couple of engines in the car, trying to find the best combination for that Miller Genuine Draft Ford.
You see, he's picked up a little bit here on the second lap, a little closer to what Jarrett was running, except it's about 3 miles an hour off coming off of turn 4.
47.025 on lap number 2, 191.388. That was his best lap. Rusty Wallace, 12th on the grid at that time. Jerry Punch caught up with Kyle Petty.
And Kyle climbs out of the car with a big smile.
Hey, what was the first lap?
7:56. Yeah.
I was praying.
Yeah, I was too.
That's Barry Dotson, the crew chief. Kyle, the first time by, you were 27th fastest. Second time, you put a heck of a lap on, 8th quickest.
Yeah, I tell you what, we've been practicing with our oil, trying to get the oil temperature right, and we cooked it. I mean, just absolutely cooked the oil in this thing to get it up to temperature. But I tell you, that Kendall oil withstands pretty good, I will admit that. But the oil temperature wasn't up on the first lap. First lap, I come by here, and it wasn't even off the peg. And I said, man, that's 20 horsepower on one of these restrictor plate motors. Second time by, it was up to about 180 or 90. So we got our 20 horsepower back, and we jumped up a bunch.
Speaking of temperature, it seems to be getting a little bit cooler right now. Our temperatures show it's about 8 or 9 degrees cooler than when we started, and the wind's dropping off a little bit. That'll help some of the guys behind you.
Yeah, the wind is what's going to help. Temperature is not. I don't think temperature has been a factor since we've been down here, but this wind is wicked on you. I mean, it kills you down the front stretch, and it'll absolutely send you to the wall down here in 3 and 4. If you don't get a handful, then you're going to be somewhere else come Thursday, I guess.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Well, there weren't very many qualifiers to go at this point. Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt were left to qualify. Could Dale knock Dale Jarrett from the pole? We'll be right. Several NASCAR Winston Cup drivers have picked up their very first career win here at Daytona, including Sterling Marlin, Derek Cope, Hamilton, Andretti, and Lund. Bobby Labonte trying to add his name, but there's a problem. Here's John Kernan.
Well, seemingly a problem for Bobby Labonte down here on the line. Bobby, they have pulled the car out of the qualifying line, and it's now sitting by the side. What's the problem?
Well, there's some braces that they NASCAR required us to put on there, and we didn't get them on there yet. And we assumed they must have been on there had to be on there for the race or not qualifying or something. So ain't no big deal. We just kind of put these on and go.
Well, you know, it also drops you back in line. Maybe you'll go last now.
I don't know that that's going to matter. We weren't very far from last anyway.
Sterling Marlin up next, the defending winner of the Daytona 500, his only career win, and he was the 1992 pole winner here at the 500. 193.494 was the speed he was looking for to knock Dale Jarrett from the pole position.
And I wish we could get a microphone down for you folks to listen to this four-car. There, you hear him as he goes by?
Yeah.
That's a different sound than you're used to hearing with a stock car. It sounds a little like an Indy car.
Or even an IMSA car. It's much, much different than any other Winston Cup car. Hey, look at this. He's equaling Dale at the end of corner number 2.
And this is just his first lap.
This thing just sounds fast, doesn't it?
It does sound fast. Sounds like it's got a turbocharger or something.
Yeah. There it is. High-pitched sound. And he's close to Dale Jarrett's trap speeds. The total on lap number 1 was 46.737, 192.567.
Now that's faster than Dale Jarrett's first lap, isn't it?
Yes, it is. About 300ths of a second faster.
And same speed down in turn 1 for Sterling Marlin.
Let's see what he gets at the end of corner number 2. Oh, he's faster than Jarrett.
Now here's the key. Can he go in turn 3 at 198 miles an hour? Nope. No, he can't. 196, so he's 2 miles per hour slower. Might be enough to cost him the pole position. Critical, turn 4.
Got the car real low in turn 4. Oh, he's a mile an hour faster in the trap off of turn 4. The lap total 46.548. It's 193.349. Not quite good enough, but at that point he was second fastest. So Dale Jarrett continues to hang on the pole, but look who's waiting to go out in the GM Goodwrench Monte Carlo Chevrolet. It's Dale Earnhardt. Will have his run when we come back. Well, here were the top qualifiers with just a few left to go. Dale Jarrett hanging on the pole in a Ford, then Chevys of Marlin, Presley, and Terry Labonte. We talked about the strange noise from that Sterling Marlin car. Jerry Punch caught up with Tony Glover.
Tony Glover, that car sounds a little bit unusual. Sounds like an Indy car almost. What's the engine deal? The headers or what is it?
Well, I don't know. Some have been aggravating us about a new driver. They're calling him Nigel Marlin now. But it's just something that the guys in the engine room come up with a little different combination in the engine, and seems like it's working pretty well.
It just sounds so different than anything else we've heard today. We used to hear the old 180-degree headers. Is it somewhat of a variation from that?
Well, not really. It's more like 140-degree headers. But to be honest with you, I think it's a little slower. But Larry and Runt likes the way it sounds, so I guess we're going to run it.
Well, it sounds fast, and it was fast. Before we get to Dale Earnhardt's run, here's Todd Bodine with his best career finish third at Atlanta in the last race of 1994. So this team definitely comes in with some momentum buildup.
Yeah, they're excited about 1995. They learned a lot being together for the first time last year. He and Butch Mock, who owns the Factory Stores of America Ford, and they feel that they can be a threat in 1995. And he was running awfully good last year in the Daytona 500 and got caught up in a wreck.
Yep.
Boy, he was really running well. Might have had the best car here in Daytona last year. That was yet to be determined because he didn't finish the race, but he really did have a good running car.
And again, if you're just joining us, Jeff qualified. We'll tell you how he did at the end of our show. But Brett's car was not qualified today. It was decided that it would be withdrawn from qualifying and will take part in second day qualifying on Monday. Here's the first lap for Todd Bodine, 47.257 and a speed of 190.448.
Pretty good lap, and he should pick up some speed on this second lap as the car builds up speed.
Well, certainly that team is one of those that's in the top 40 in the Winston Cup point standings. Of course, the farther you up were up at the end of last year in the point standings, the better shot you got at getting a provisional if you need one. So he was about 18th or 19th or something in the points last year.
About 3 miles an hour under Dale Jarrett at the end of turn number 2 and about 4 under him at the end of the backstretch. So this will not be a pole-setting run by Todd Bodine, but a good one nevertheless. In fact, checking on lap number 2, it was 47.086, a speed of 191.140. And Dr. Jerry Punch has caught up with Richard Childress down on
some of the
pit
Goodrich
road.
crew sitting here watching and waiting. Richard Childress, what about it? You go last? You got a shot at it?
Well, I think anytime you're here, you got a shot at it. But Andy Petrie, tell us what our excuse.
Oh, Andy?
Well, we won't have any excuses. We're going last. I think everybody out here would like to have drawn last. The good thing about it is if you do good, you don't have to wait. You know how you did when you do it.
Well, they watch and wait. Remember, they were on the outside front row here a year ago. It could happen.
Just 2 more qualifiers to go. Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt will be back in just a moment. We welcome you back to Daytona International Speedway for our wrap-up of Busch Pole qualifying. At midnight tonight, Texas El Paso hosts the Lobos of New Mexico, who have won the last 6 meetings between the 2 schools. That's hoop action tonight on ESPN at midnight Eastern. All right, ready to go out for a qualification attempt with 23 wins at Daytona, but not a single win in the Daytona 500. The 7-time and defending NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Dale Earnhardt. Look at the track conditions, 87 degrees, and look at the wind. Now it's only 5 to 10 miles an hour compared to, what, 15 to 20 miles an hour we saw earlier?
I guess Earnhardt has a lot of power. He just said slow the wind a little bit here right now.
Turn off the machine, turn off the wind machine, and it turned off.
Again, he was going for a speed of 193.494, 46.513 seconds, turned in by Dale Jarrett. And the eyes of the racing world for the moment focused on this number 3 machine once again. Well, he's not quite up to Dale Jarrett's specifications on the first lap. A couple of miles an hour slower into 1 and out of 2.
Dale Jarrett, I think, ran 46.76 on his first lap. We'll see what Dale Earnhardt is able to do on his first lap. And he's a little faster coming off turn 4, so.
Here's the first lap. It's 46.738, 192.563. Not quite up to pole specs.
But was faster than Dale Jarrett's first lap speed. And he's faster down in turn 1.
Yeah, by a mile an hour. Let's see what he does coming off of turn 2 here.
2 miles an hour faster. So Dale Earnhardt has definitely got something going on this qualifying lap.
Now can he get her up to 198 going into turn 3?
No, about 3 miles an hour slower than Jarrett at the end of the backstretch. Off of corner number 4, it's faster, but the second lap would not be good enough. 46.524 seconds, speed 193.449. Second fastest. It did put him on the outside of row number 1, but Dale Jarrett was still on the pole with only one more qualifier to go, and that's Bobby Labonte, the 91 Busch Grand National champion and the owner of the 94 Busch Grand National champion car driven by David Green. Here is the Interstate Batteries car that Dale Jarrett drove last year, this year being piloted by Labonte.
And Labonte was scheduled to qualify 3 or 4 cars before Dale Earnhardt, but that problem he had with the rear spoiler, putting the braces back on them, they moved him to the rear of the line. So this is the last car to qualify this afternoon. And once again, another one of those General Motors cars at the rear of the car sags down a great deal down the back straightaway as that wind goes across that rear spoiler.
How much different are the new Monte Carlos from the old Luminous? Anything you can put into layman's terms?
I don't really know.
Well, there's quite a bit of difference really in the body design, especially in the contour of the body at the back where the roof comes down to meet the quarter panels. There's quite a difference there in that area, and also a difference in the nose of the car.
46.917, 191.828. The first lap for Bobby Labonte, that put him 6th in the provisional field, and it was now at this time that we could officially declare that Dale Jarrett had won the pole position for the 1995 running of the Daytona 500.
One thing I noticed about the Monte Carlos is they look a little like a football. I saw some smoke where the tire was rubbing the fenders down the back straightaway. The car was going down so much. But the car resembles a football a little bit. The hood and the deck lid are round, whereas the Ford Thunderbird, the rear deck lid is flat. On these Monte Carlos, they're round.
Second lap for Bobby Labonte was his best, 46.741, a speed of 192.550. It kept him at 6th on the grid. Meanwhile, Jerry Punch caught up to talk with Dale Earnhardt.
Well, Dale, 11 thousandths of a second. That's awfully close. You're on the outside of the front row.
Yeah, let's protest. Boy, you know, that's close. You know, we didn't know whether we had anything for them. We felt like we could run, you know, down in the 60s, and you know, we just see what we could do. You know, I didn't know what the car would run. We didn't really get any clean runs out in practice. We just sort of had to go on what we knew. We didn't do a block-off run and heat the motor up or anything. So, you know, we were close. That's the front row anyway. I'd like to got the pole. Maybe he won't pass Tech.
Hey, could this be the year, Dale? Could this be the one?
I don't know. We've been awful close here, Jerry, and it's a good racetrack for us. I like coming here, and I like the racing. Save a little luck from Saturday for Sunday, and since I'm not going to drive that car, but maybe I'm still going to use it because I'm part owner with Teresa's, but Jeff Green driving on the Busch Grand National. But, you know, we're going to focus on this Winston Cup car and this Monte Carlo this year. I want to try to win that age championship, and it starts here at Daytona, and then points do.
Guys, it's the Dale and Dale show on the front row.
That's the way it went. Darkness has now fallen over the racetrack, and when we come back live on set, we'll talk with the pole sitter for this year's race, Dale Jarrett. ESPN Speed World being brought to you by the more than 950 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. And by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. Joining Benny and Ned and me is the pole sitter for this year's Daytona 500, Dale Jarrett. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Quite a day.
We'll give you the first question, Ned.
Well, now, I asked him the question this morning. I said, is the pressure building? And he said it wasn't, but it really was, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot more than I thought was. It was closer to the time got to having to go out there. Yeah, it built up more, but knew I had a good race car. I just wanted to be able to do my job.
Now, Ned, all that money you've loaned him throughout the years, you're going to start getting some off the back?
I'm hatching chili. That's what I told people. They want to know why he was so excited when I won the 500 a couple years ago. I said he figured he was off the hook for a few months anyway. I'd won enough money, wouldn't have to loan me any for a while.
I tell you what, this 28 car, you've got to be just tickled to death. I tell you what, first question I got to ask is, how's Ernie?
Ernie's doing great. He's coming along. Since I've been around him quite a bit, since about December, he's improved tremendously. I see him getting back in a race car later this year. he's been a big help to us down here. I mean, we got together yesterday. The car was kind of loose, and he had a good idea about the track bar for us, and we made that change, and along with a few others, and it really helped the car.
I think one of the most interesting things I've heard you say in a long time, you told Jerry Punch earlier today, when you said that this was the best career move for you this year, with the notion that Ernie might be back. You can win the championship this year and then maybe write your own ticket.
That's exactly right. I had to look, you know, and I saw it on SportsCenter, and I've said this a number of times, but I was watching SportsCenter one night, and they were giving an update on a baseball player being injured and said he was listed as day-to-day, and I think it was Keith Olbermann that said it, but he said, then again, aren't we all day-to-day?
Yeah.
And that hit me right there. I said, that's made my mind up what I'm going to do. I can't worry about 96. We'll worry about that later. I've got to do what's best for 95, and this is my best opportunity, and what a great team I'm with. I'd like to sit here and take the credit for going out there and sitting on the pole and say it was all driver, but Larry McReynolds, Robert and Doug Yates, the guys in the body shop, everybody did such a tremendous job over the winter getting this car ready. This was a brand new car when we came down here in January.
And what kind of a race car is it going to be in the race?
Very good. Yeah, of course, we haven't drafted yet. We didn't get any drafting time when we were down here testing, but by the wind tunnel numbers for what we had to compare against that they had here in the past, we've got a really, really good race car here that's going to be good in the draft, too. We'll know tomorrow afternoon.
Not being in the Busch Clash, is that going to hurt you?
Well, it certainly would be good to be there and see, but I'm afraid of what we might see there. These Monte Carlos look awfully good. They came down here talking about how they weren't going to run fast. They were going to be great in the draft. So maybe they're totally wrong. They were fast. Maybe they're not going to be good in the draft.
Well, the pressure is off now, and you can relax. You got the twin 2025s you can race in, but you know that you're on the pole for the race. And we'll be back to talk more with our pole setter, Dale Jarrett, after this. Welcome back. Here's our AutoZone recap. Now, this is what you've been waiting for. Your favorite driver is going to appear on here. These are all 57 cars that qualified today. We got to talk about some fines that were handed out by NASCAR the last couple of days.
And Randy LaJoy, Bill Davis, his car owner, were fined. Bill Davis fined $25,000, the driver $10,000, the crew chief $100 for a device that they had that could change the configuration of the car.
And Junior Johnson, that intake manifold we talked about, NASCAR deemed that it was illegal. They fined Junior the largest fine ever in NASCAR history, $45,000. Also, Joe Nemechek had something in his air cleaner. They fined him $5,000. So, Dale Jarrett, the point fund is growing.
Point fund's growing in a hurry, and hopefully we can use that with this Texaco, Haviland, Mack Tools Ford.
Looks like they're also cracking down. No funny business this year, huh?
No, they mean business whenever you come here to Daytona for the start of the season, and should be that way. You know, it's fair for everybody.
Dale, what do you do now for the next few days? Again, the pressure is off. Do you work solely on your race setup?
Yeah, we're getting ready to race. We'll put the springs in it and shocks to go out and draft and see how this car is going to perform, which I think is going to be very good, but gives us a lot of time to do that.
You have to run a little bit stronger spring in the rear racing than you do qualifying.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're soft as some of those guys I saw qualifying there. We weren't dragging like that.
Well, maybe we will have at the end of next Sunday afternoon another Dale and Dale show like we had a couple of years ago. It's set up that way in qualifying, and perhaps it'll be Dale and Dale coming for the checkered flag again for the finish of this year's Daytona 500. Congratulations to Dale Jarrett. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we'll see you in the ARCA race tomorrow afternoon at 3:30, followed by another live edition of Speed Week. For Dale Jarrett, Benny Parsons, and Ned Jarrett, I'm Bob Jenkins. Also for Jerry and John, so long, everyone.